All right, so hi there. My name is Christine, and the rest of my team and I are very excited to share our Dow Fellows presentation with you. So this year we worked with Habitat for Humanity to construct 5 different case studies about sustainable home building. So briefly introducing the team here, I have Emily, Caitlin, Colby, Josh, and then obviously myself. We were advised by Professor Andy Hoffman, and of course we couldn't have done any of this work without our Habitat for Humanity client contact, Molly Berg, a senior specialist of building science at Habitat. So before we get into the project itself, it's really important to understand the structure of Habitat. So at its core, it's really about the community and the families that it serves. So those families engage directly with a local Habitat for Humanity affiliate. So think of something like Habitat for Humanity of Huron Valley, Habitat for Humanity of Kent County. And during this presentation, when we say affiliate, this is who we mean. So those local Habitat affiliates are supported by state or regional Habitat for Humanity affiliates. They provide things like advocacy, training, development, and disaster services to enable the local affiliates to do their work. And then obviously all of this sits under the umbrella of Habitat for Humanity International, who really guides the core principles and ultimately the vision of a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And now I'm going to pass it off to Emily, who's going to talk a little bit more about the case studies.
Thanks, Christine. So as you guys just saw in the previous slide, each of the Habitat affiliates have a lot of autonomy in terms of how they specifically choose to move forward with their building designs. So as a result of that, some are pursuing more sustainable practices in building. So Molly Berg helped us identify 9 of those such affiliates scattered across the country, as you can see by this map. These we're all doing pretty innovative sustainable building projects. So our team developed a series of standardized questions with 2 goals in mind, trying to tie in the mission of Habitat to pursue this decent and affordable place to live for all. And also we wanted to bring in our goal of sharing these sustainability stories across Habitat. So we undertook 9 hour-long interviews with each of these affiliates, and in those interviews, we had a semi-structured process where we were able to ask consistent questions to each affiliate, and that still allowed for us to have some flexibility for each affiliate to kind of take the conversation in the avenue that they're most excited about with their specific project that they were doing related to sustainable building. So as a result of these interviews, our team developed some overarching topics. We had a brainstorming session where we really talked through the salient topics that came up in each of these interviews, and as a result, kind of settled on 5 main themes that were coming out. You can see them listed above with their descriptions, but those 5 topic areas for the case studies are alternative builds, all-electric homes, a community focus, data collection, and solar energy. So we really could talk in depth about each of these case studies for a while, but for the purposes of this presentation, we wanted to focus on the alternative builds case studies. These are some pretty radical ways of reducing carbon emissions in their building process, and we hope that the rest of the presentation allows for you to get a deeper understanding of what an individual case study looks like and the usefulness that we hope it can provide Habitat with. With that, I'll pass it on to Colby.
So this first affiliate that we wanted to showcase is Gunnison Valley in Colorado, and they're doing something really unique with their builds. So instead of using the traditional spray foam insulation, they're actually using straw bale as insulation for their homes. In addition to this, they use a lot of other natural materials like wool and cork and a lot of local lumber as well. And this really allows them to reduce concrete and use less materials like glass and steel, which are very energy intensive. The affiliate mentioned to us that these natural materials also have some carbon sequestering powers. And then another perk of this as well is they use about 90% local lumber in this build here that's showcased. And they were able to keep about $30,000 in their local economy with this as well. This is the Pioneer Valley affiliate in Massachusetts. And what they are doing is they're actually building smaller homes. So they piloted their Big Enough Homes project in 2019 with this build at 1 Garfield Avenue, and they're really using small homes as a tool for affordability by implementing simpler building designs, simpler floor plans, and reducing the overall materials that they are using in their builds. So as you can see here, they are using a very simple box-shaped design to really minimize the materials that they're using. And they were able to accomplish this through multiple different methods, one being using just very traditional wood-framed builds. And those are very, very easy and simple for volunteers to construct, actually. So that was helpful for them. And then something that they highlighted for us is that they really, really valued the diverse input of their stakeholders. So really listening to homeowner perspectives, architects, builders, HERS raters, and other experts at Habitat for Humanity to accomplish this project.
Okay, thank you, Kobe. The next affiliate that we are going to talk about is Greater Jackson, Michigan. And they are working on a project to have concrete-free foundations. And this is really important because the use of concrete in a home is the greatest source of embedded carbon. So by reducing the amount of concrete that you're using, you can significantly reduce the carbon footprint of a build. And in this case, right here in Michigan, they are using a foundation that is all wood. So it uses wood, gravel, and cut stone instead of your traditional poured concrete foundation. And this has several benefits for them. The first is that it actually had a fairly significant cost savings of $7,000 per foundation. And it also had a CO2 reduction of 22.9 tons. In addition, this is a foundation that volunteers can install. So instead of relying on a third party to come and pour the concrete, the volunteers are actually able to get involved in this process. The only one challenge is that it is a little bit climate specific. So this is something that is better for north or central climates and can't really be used as a strategy in coastal regions. The last affiliate that we have today is Orange County, North Carolina, and they are working on a mixed income development project. And this is really a first for Habitat because Habitat is traditionally known for its single-family homes. And in this case in North Carolina, they are trying to work to combat limited land availability, so they are actually using denser development as a strategy. And in this new community that they're building called Weaver's Grove, they're actually going to have 101 Habitat homes that are all either townhomes or duplexes. And in addition to this, they're also partnering with local builders to have 40 single-family homes and 96 apartment units that are not Habitat homes. And so this is what's creating this type of a mixed-income community, which has been shown to have improved community outcomes for those who are living there, as we discuss more in our community case study. Now I'm going to pass it off to Josh.
Thank you, Caitlin. To reiterate, we've developed 5 unique case studies, all different topics. And so you'll all be able to read them because they'll be published along with their final report on the Graham website, but also they'll be published on the Habitat for Humanity's intranet for the different affiliates to read. And so one of our main impacts we've been looking for from this project is to facilitate conversations between affiliates regarding these kind of cool, innovative ideas that they're doing at Habitat. And so we've already seen this a little bit, where in particular, concrete-free foundations have been a really hot topic, and we've already had several affiliates reach out to us for contact information from other affiliates, and we're really happy to see that already. Additionally, we already have, in October, we talked to a group of Michigan affiliates and presented some of our preliminary results and recommendations, and that was a really engaging process. And so ultimately, we're looking to provide inspiration for sustainable building projects across Habitat, and we're hoping that by publishing and people being able to read these case studies that will only further achieve that. And so additionally, we've identified potential future work for a future Dow cohort. We think there's a ton of work that can be done in the carbon mapping and mitigation program itself more directly, but then also we've identified several different affiliates and kind of projects associated with different affiliates that the next Dow Fellows team could potentially work on. And so we are super, super grateful for being able to work with such a tremendous group of people, Molly Berg in particular, our advisor, and also all of our Habitat for Humanity partners. And we could not have done this without the Graham Institute or the Dow Company Foundation, and we're incredibly appreciative of their support. And so we're glad to take your questions anytime.
Yeah, that's great. Questions.
Testing.
Oh, who are we going to reach?
Who can get to you first? The younger person. Hi. So I have a question about the alternate build ones for the straw bale homes, because I've heard of like straw and mud homes, and I often know that those are usually like community built homes. Was that part of like, or I guess, do the straw bale homes, are they also built like that? And did you also recommend how it is a community project? Because I feel like that aligns with Habitat for Humanity.
So it was not specifically a community build in the sense that you're thinking of. The one thing that was really unique about the build is that the homeowners actually asked for it. So the homeowners approached Habitat and said that they wanted a straw bale home, and so that affiliate worked with them to try and figure out how they could do that build structure and make it work for the homeowners. And so I know now that they want to incorporate that a little bit more in the future. But in general, that type of community build outside of the volunteers getting involved, I guess, is a kind of way that you could have that type of a build as well. Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation. It's super interesting. So I actually have two questions, which if I'm hogging it, you can just pick one to answer. But one, so actually before I moved to Michigan, I lived in Orange County, North Carolina for 7 years. So it's really cool to see that up here. And one of my friends works for Orange County Habitat. And separate from that, I know that there is at least one project in Orange County to build tiny homes for people with a history of incarceration, for example, or mental illness. I can't remember if it's which one of those this particular project was, but and it's not affiliated with Habitat. But I was curious if in your research you found any efforts to do tiny homes, like as opposed to small homes, and kind of, I don't know, just curious about that. And then my other question is, with all of these alternative builds that you're describing, you didn't really talk about any drawbacks. And so I'm curious, like, especially in terms of durability, like how long does straw bale insulation last before you maybe have to replace it? Or, I mean, you said that the wood foundations only work in like colder or drier climates, but even then, like, do they last? Imagine they don't last as long as concrete. So then, do the homeowners end up having to like pay to replace it at some point when they maybe wouldn't have otherwise? So those are two questions. Maybe pick one to answer if you want, or I don't know if other people have questions.
Okay, I'll take this one again. So on the first question of kind of the tiny homes topic, we have not specifically, to my knowledge, seen anything like that. I think the biggest project that we saw for that was Pioneer Valley, that is doing this concept of big enough homes. They're only 600 square feet, so they are fairly small, but technically not on the borderline side of tiny homes. So that may be something that other Habitat affiliates move into in the future. We're not really sure. In regard to the second question, I know in our interviews, a lot of the affiliates talked about the importance of considering the full life cycle of the building. And so that is definitely something that is taken into account when they're looking into these strategies. We did not discuss specifically the lifetime of these builds, but I know that that is compared to the traditional methods that are used, such as concrete foundations or traditional insulation. And it's made to ensure, I think it's like 50 years that Habitat homes are usually traditionally built. So any programs that they're using or these new strategies would fall within that same time frame of the build lasting for the homeowner.
Hey, thanks. I built homes for Habitat for Humanity for 7 years before grad school. So this is really interesting. So I have one question, which is what kind of maintenance costs are homeowners looking at for these non-standard builds, since Habitat families tend to be not the wealthiest. And then additionally, how easy is it for affiliates to work with volunteers to build these? Since stick frame is pretty standard, it's really easy to teach. What kind of obstacles are affiliates facing when they're trying to teach volunteers how to build with these alternative building techniques?
So I guess to answer the question, we didn't talk too much with our affiliates about like maintenance costs and like the actual living in cost pieces. But one thing we talked with a lot of affiliates about was their commitment to green education for homeowners. And so this kind of extends beyond just the alternative builds, but the Habitat affiliates often had some sort of education program about how to essentially live well in your home and ensure that if there's like better insulation, maybe there's some additional needs of ensuring that humidity levels are kept well because there's less air circulation, for example. So a lot of these affiliates did ensure that there was some piece of education given to their homeowners to try to, whether that was to reduce energy costs or ensure that they were interacting with their house in order to ensure that it was the most sustainably ran, I guess. So they did address some of those homeowner education pieces. We don't necessarily have so many answers, though, about the costs associated with maintenance.
Is there time for me to add on to that?
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah. So maybe while you deliver that, I do also want to add that obviously Habitat for Humanity does warranty their homes. So when they do something that's, new and never been done before, unproven or something like that, obviously they consider the downstream impacts on the homeowner themselves. They're not going to stick them with the bill of, trying this new technique and now they have to fix something. That is very much not what they're about. So just wanted to add that.
It's going to cut off the questions, but I see that the microphone's been handed off. One last quick answer.
I wonder if you could talk quickly about the data collection and how that might relate to the alternative builds and the potential satisfaction with those.
So the data collection case study specifically focused on Habitat for Humanity of the Wisconsin River area. And it's a smaller affiliate. They build actually about one home a year, but the larger program that they do is home repairs because it's an aging community and they have this really big focus on aging in place. So as there were questions earlier that were talking about, do people think about the long-term impacts of things? Habitat of the Wisconsin River area is doing a great job at that. Part of their survey design that's covered in this case study is doing post-occupancy surveys, basically, with all 84 of the Habitat families that they've built for over the years. So it's talking about how well did this home really work for you? What have your energy costs been? How has your maintenance looked? And post-occupancy sort of considerations are something that Habitat's more interested in getting into. So that was one of the things that we thought would be a really great project for next year, is to sort of take that survey, generalize it, and maybe help distribute it to a larger number of affiliates to collect that data.